welcome back to another episode of the Metaphor Podcast, brought to you by Liveplex with Michael and Alex. Man, we got a great topic for you guys today because I don't know if you guys have been keeping track of, what's been going on in the news recently, but there's a lot of talk in the crypto world right now, the crypto world and the Web3 world about, kind of the future of crypto. There's a lot of big movements, a lot of prices are falling, a lot of people are pulling money out of their accounts. So, when we sit back and think about, what is Web3, what's the metaverse, it's very easy to get caught up and, a lot of what's going on in the current day. However, we always go back to the central idea that there's this blockchain that is this new technology that will be innovating and revolutionizing the way we interact with the internet. So today, Alex and I are going to be talking to you guys about, we're going to be pretty much going through a hypothetical situation of, is there a metaverse without the blockchain? And hopefully by the end of this, we can prove that that answer is no, and that the blockchain is very, very essential. And you'll come, away with some key ideas as to why. Alex, I know before, we hopped on, you were talking a little bit about, just like the crypto world, are you scared a little bit? Like what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. I was one of the people who had some of the crypto stuff in crypto.com, and kind of with all the recent news with FTX and also crypto.com's holdings, I felt like there could be a potential run almost on crypto.com. So I'm trying to pull out a lot of my assets out of there right now and move them to other places.
Yeah, exactly. The premise of this episode is not kind of what's going on recently. So I'll keep my comment very, very short, but it kind of makes you wonder, what kind of needs to happen, or what kind of, I'm not going to say regulations, because I don't think that's a word that people in crypto really like to hear, but it's more so what kind of safety nets should there be, in order to kind of keep, this kind of a world, running and making sure that all the walls don't collapse. Nonetheless, a lot of people also think that a big crash like this needs to happen, and that, essentially a good cleaning needs to happen within the Web3 and crypto space. Very similar to what happened during the .com bubble. So who knows, maybe we're seeing an instance of history repeating itself, but nonetheless, we want to really debate this idea of, the metaverse and the blockchain. So a lot of you guys might be thinking Mike, I can't even think about the metaverse right now if, crypto is not even in a good state. But even crypto is built off of, blockchain technology. Blockchain is pretty much behind everything within Web3. So we're going to be talking a little bit about, if you were to remove that, you still have, Web3, you still have the metaverse. So, I'm just going to kind of, to get started, propose, imagine a metaverse world, within the internet, without a blockchain, right? Think about it as everything that we've been talking about recently. I think one of the big things you notice right away is that you don't really have ownership over any of the things inside of the metaverse. One thing we talked about in our blockchain episode in NFT and gaming is one big thing about that makes the metaverse very different is that it's very much like a video game, but you actually own the skins, you actually own things that your avatar wears, you own things that you own inside the metaverse. And that's pretty unique because there's this whole economy that gets built out of that. Alex, I know you and I, talk shop on video games sometimes. You and I both know that we don't essentially own, any custom thing, inside of a game.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of the main sort of reason why there needs to be this kind of shift to a new iteration of the internet. Right now, or even previous to blockchain tech, there was never really any way to kind of differentiate or kind of reward or provide the actual creators of content any sort of form of payment for the content that they created. And so with blockchain, that now becomes a real possibility. You can now reward the people who actually do the work instead of having, these larger corporations like Google or Apple or Amazon kind of like taking credit for, or kind of reaping the benefits of the work that other people have sort of done on their platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And like to kind of highlight that point more, like you can think about it like this: if you go and buy, let's say a skin in Fortnite, right? You can't really go and take that skin and use it anywhere else except for Fortnite, which is a game owned by Epic Games. And when you think about what we know as IP, intellectual property, IP owned by you. You don't own the IP of your skin. The company owns that specific IP. So it's not like you can go into, let's say, Call of Duty and plug that skin into the character that you're using, or any other game where you might have customized features, because you don't own any of the rights to that IP that I was just discussing. With the blockchain, you do. So the blockchain, anytime you purchase, let's say anytime you purchase, let's say it's like a jacket, like for your avatar, right? It's very much like if you were to go in person today and go buy a jacket. The cut, like, if you go buy an Adidas jacket, Adidas doesn't necessarily own your jacket. You purchased it, you can wear it, and you can even, sport Adidas around. Very similar with like the idea of the metaverse. Like no one person necessarily owns, that specific item and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of like another point on that, with having kind of like these new sort of incentives or rewards, it kind of like spurs new innovation, creativity. I think also, like, people are more incentivized to kind of create new things, think outside of the box, and blockchain is another sort of catalyst to kind of like innovation in tech.
Yeah, I think too, like blockchain is kind of like one of the first steps to interoperability as well, because if you think about what we have right now in video games, you would need to find a way to be able to bridge all these games under one roof. But blockchain is kind of like that one database that would be able to do that, because if you have something that's on the blockchain that's compatible with one world in Sandbox, right? It's going to be compatible with another world within that same game engine. And similarly, if you were to go to maybe like Unity or something, they're right now, like, big thing in Web3 is making that actually interoperable, in the sense that, like, not necessarily from like a data standpoint, but from being able to actually like utilize that data. So that's one thing. But all in all, really, that would be probably the biggest. That would probably be the biggest thing I would say that you would notice if there was no blockchain. I think another thing too is just like how effective economies would become if there were no blockchain. One thing that comes to mind right off the bat is whenever you're making these smart contracts, those lines of code will execute automatically whenever something needs to be done, whether something needs to be bought, something needs to be sold. Those are just lines of code within the NFT itself. And I think without the blockchain, there's a lot of utility within NFTs that you wouldn't be able see as well. Actually, in fact, without blockchain, there really isn't NFTs, because there isn't this independent, decentralized ledger that would be able to store them. Similarly, like a lot of cryptocurrencies right now, the whole reason why Bitcoin became so popular was because of the blockchain that was, pretty much backing it. So, nonetheless, I think a world without blockchain, especially if we're talking metaverse, wouldn't really be the Web3, we kind of see it today. Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I guess like from a technicality standpoint, maybe a metaverse could technically exist without a blockchain. It would be pretty much the exact same thing, I think, to the current web space we see today, like social media, things like that.
Yeah.
You still have content creators, things like that, but there's no real sort of ownership involved, individual ownership involved, I guess. And yeah, just like the concept of it, like, I just don't think it would be possible to have a decentralized sort of structure to the web without blockchain tech.
Couldn't agree more. I know that like we at Liveplex are very excited about Web3 and blockchain development. We're very much on the forefront within this industry, and are very excited. We're very excited to see a lot of, what's going on right now and the news and stuff kind of blow over. But at the same time, working on great projects that'll hopefully bring great utility within different Web3 products such as NFTs, Metaverse, and et cetera, to very high demand industries, whether that be in tech or real estate or manufacturing, you name it. We're always looking to innovate this space. But with that, we're actually going to wrap this episode. Stay tuned next week for another installment. We're hoping you guys are learning a lot. Make sure to leave comments, leave a like below, get that algorithm going well. And until then, stay tuned.
Yep. Catch you guys later.